ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। ॐ वृषभं चर्षणीनां विश्वरूपमदाभ्यम् बृहस्पतिं वरेण्यम् ॐ तद्विष्णोः परमं पदं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयः दिविव चक्षुराततम्। ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं महालक्ष्म्यै नमः। ॐ श्लीं ह्रीं ज्योतिर्ब्राह्माय नमः। Can everybody say Hare Ramakrishna 3 times with me? Om Hare Ramakrishna, Hare Ramakrishna, Hare Ramakrishna. So which chapter are we on? In BPHS, chapter 15, right? Yeah. 13 we finished. Okay. So in BPHS, Brihat Parasar Hora Shastram, we are in chapter 15 in Santanam's version. This is Sukhabhava Phaladhyaya. Basically the results of the 4th house. I think when the room becomes reasonably warm, we should turn off the heater. Really loud. This room. Uktam tritiya bhavasya phalam sankshepato maya sukha bhava phalam chatha kathayami dvijottama. So Parashara is saying to Maitreya, Uktam tritiya bhavasya phalam sankshepato maya. The result of the 3rd house has been explained, has been said. Sankshepato means briefly, maya means by me. So the results of the 3rd house have been explained briefly by me. Sukha bhava phalam chatha kathayami dvijottama. Now thus sukha bhava phalam cha, the results of the 4th house also kathayami, I am saying dvijottama, O great Brahmin. So he is saying, okay, we are done with the 3rd house. I have told you in brief what the 3rd house shows. Now I am going to tell you what the 4th house shows. Sukheshe sukha bhavasthe lagneshe tadgate piva shubhadrushte cha jatasya purnam gruha sukham vadet. Sukheshe sukha bhavasthe. Sukha means comfort. So, and in astrology, the house of comforts is 4th house. So, Sukheshe means the lord of the 4th house. Sukha bhavasthe means in the 4th house itself. So, the lord of the 4th house is in the 4th house itself. Lagneshe tadgate piva, or Lagneshe, the lord of Lagna. The lord of Lagna tadgate piva is there otherwise. Which means in the 4th house either the 4th lord is there or the Lagna lord is there. Shubhadrushte cha jatasya, Shubhadrushte means, and that planet, whether the Lagna lord or 4th lord, whoever is in the 4th house, that planet is aspected by benefic planets. Jatasya purnam gruha sukham vadet. A person born like that, for him, purnam means complete, full. Gruha sukham means, gruha means house that you live in, home. Sukham means comfort. So for such a person, you should say that there will be happiness from the house, comfort from the house. So for having a good house and enjoying the good house, the 4th house is the important house, obviously. And if the 4th lord or Lagna lord is there, they are conducive to it. Obviously, in all the other previous chapters that we have studied, the lord of the house is very important. If the 3rd lord is in 3rd, it's good for 3rd house. If the 2nd lord is in 2nd house, it's good for the 2nd house. So lord of any house being in that house is good. Here The additional factor is the Lagna Lord being in the 4th house has also been mentioned. Why? We are talking about comfort of the body. 4th house is the house of comfort, and Lagna is basically the key house. Lagna is your body. It's your very existence. It's the core of your existence. So Lagna Lord being in the 4th house of comfort, that can also give comforts, just like the 4th Lord in 4th house. And of course, Shubhadrishte, so the aspect of benefits, this has been mentioned again and again. In every chapter, Parashara says, aspect of benefits is a desirable thing. So this is one combination. And another combination is, Swagehe svanchake svoche sukhasthanadhipo yadi bhumiyana grahadinam sukham vajya bhavam tatha. Okay. Swagehe swamchake svoche. Swagehe means, geha means house. Swagehe means own house. Swamchake means own amsha. Not same, own. Swa means own. So either in the own house, either in a own house or in a own amsha. What does he mean by amsha here? The navamsha probably, or probably chaturthamsha, because when it comes to enjoying a good house, good home, chaturthamsha, D4 is the important chart. So it could be the D4. So either navamsha or chaturthamsha. Swagehe swamsake svoche. Svoche means swa ucha. So own exaltation sign of the planet. Who are we talking about? We are talking about somebody being in either own house or own amsha or exaltation sign. Who? Sukhasthanadhipo yadi. Yadi means if. Sukhasthanadhipo means sukha. Sukhasthanam, the 4th house. Adhipa means the ruler. So the ruler of the 4th house, if he is in own sign, or see, not necessarily 4th house here, he is saying own sign. So for example, let's say somebody has Sagittarius Lagna, or let's say somebody has Kanya Lagna, Virgo Lagna. Who is the 4th Lord? Sagittarius is the 4th house. The Lord is Jupiter. Let's say Jupiter is not in Sagittarius, but he is in Pisces. Still he is in Swageha, own sign. Okay? So that is the thing. Or he could be in Cancer. Or he could be in Sagittarius or Pisces in Navamsha or Chaturthamsha. In those cases, the next line basically will apply. Cancer, exaltation sign of Jupiter. Yeah, what were you thinking when you said Gemini? 4th house from where? Why from Pisces? Okay, anyway. Okay, so the combination is, if the 4th Lord is either in own sign or own Navamsha or own Chaturthamsha or in exaltation sign, then what is the result attributed to that combination? The result is Bhumi Yana Grahadinam Sukham Vajya Bhavam Tatha. Bhumi means land. So land properties. You may or may not be living, but you may be owning lot of land, lot of agricultural land or lot of real estate, etc. You may have several apartments or a big land in the outskirts of a big city. So Bhumi means land. Yana means, Yana literally is not really vehicles, it literally means travel. But you can basically interpret it to mean vehicle here, because travel is not something with which you are endowed, whereas land, house, all these are things that you are endowed with. So obviously by Yana he means vehicle directly. So land, vehicle, Grahadinam. Graha means house of residence. So real estate, vehicle and house. Grahadinam and etc. Adi means etc. Sukham means comfort. Vajya bhavam tatha. Vajya means musical instruments. Vajyam, Vaidyam. So Vajya bhavam, or from musical instruments also. So 4th house is not just vehicles. We earlier knew, even though we didn't do this chapter, we all earlier knew that 4th house stood for your vehicle, your house, your landed property, etc. The new thing Parashara is adding here, which we haven't covered until now, is the musical instruments. If somebody has nice musical instruments, he possesses or he can play nice musical instruments, it is also seen from the 4th house. So all these happinesses are seen from the fourth house. And of course, he did mention what other things the fourth house stands for earlier. So you can basically consult those results also, or earlier or later in the BPHS. And what are some of the other results that we have seen for fourth house earlier? Mother, right? Mother is also seen from the fourth house. Pardon me? Learning, exactly, excellent. So learning, mother. So all these things you see from the fourth house. The place where you learn, what you learn, what subject you learn, all those are seen from the fourth house. So if the fourth lord is very well placed, let's say he is not in Swamsha as per Chaturthamsha or Navamsha, but let us say he is in own Siddhamsha. Let's say the fourth lord of Rashi chart is in own Siddhamsha. Then you can say, well, the result given by Parashara, you have to adapt it. Not for the house of residence, but maybe for education. The person may be well educated. For example, in my chart, I have Virgo Lagna, and the fourth house is Sagittarius, and the fourth lord is Jupiter. And in my D24, the Siddhamsha, the chart of education, Jupiter is in a quadrant in Pisces. I have Gemini Lagna in my D24, and Jupiter is in Pisces. So he is in one sign, and not only is he in one sign, but he is also in a quadrant. So he is very well placed. So because the fourth lord of Rashi chart is well placed in D24, the person can be good in studies. The next verse is verse 4. Karmadhipena samjukte kendre kone gruhadhipe vichitra saudha prakarair manditam tadruham vadet. Okay. Karmadhipena samjukte. Karmadhipena samjukte. Karmadhipa means karma. What is karma? Karma means the actions that you do. So 10th house. Karmadhipa means the lord of the 10th house. Karmadhipena means with the lord of the 10th house. Samyukta means join. So join, if we haven't said who, but if some X is joined by the joined by the 10th lord, Kendre Kone, either in a quadrant or in a trine. Gruhadhipe means the lord of the fourth house. So the 10th lord is joins 10th lord conjoins the fourth lord either in a quadrant or in a trine. Vichitra saudha prakarair mandidam tadruham vadet. Vichitra saudha prakaraihi means Vichitra means strange, beautiful, nice. You can interpret it in many ways. Saudha means big palace. We are not talking about a house anymore. Saudha means a palace or a big building, a big mansion. Vichitra saudha prakarair manditam tadgruham vadet. And beautiful walls, big walls, etc. Manditam means endowed with all these things. Tadgruham, the house of that person, vadet, you should say. So what he's saying is, if the fourth lord is conjoined by the 10th lord in a quadrant or a trine, the person's house will be a very big house. It's not a normal house. It's not just being happy with the house or having the comfort of a good house, but it's basically a very opulent kind of house. That is what Parashara is saying.
Tenth house is the work. Why it is like that? Trine is important.
Being in a fourth lord being in a quadrant or trine makes sense. Why the 10th house you are saying? Why the 10th lord? Why? What is the meaning of 10th lord and fourth lord being together? What would you think?
The earning lot of karma.
Pardon me?
There are earnings.
Okay.
Lot of comfort from karma.
Yeah. Okay. Right. If you take the fourth house as Lagna, the thing is, earlier I mentioned, you can take any house as Lagna to see houses with respect to it. So if you take for example, when we saw father, we took the 9th house as Lagna, etc. Right? So similarly, if you take the 4th house as Lagna, what is the 10th house from 4th house? Counting from the 4th house, taking that as the Lagna, the 10th house will become the 7th house of desire and also the 7th house of interaction with the rest of the world. For me? Relationship. So, What does the 10th house show with respect to house? Of course, 10th house shows karma, the career, your career and your work. But what else does it show with respect to the 4th house, with respect to your house?
Desire of the 4th house.
Pardon me?
Shows the desire of the 4th house.
It shows desire of the 4th house, desire of your house. So, if Lagna Lord and 7th Lord are together, what does it mean? Forget 4th house for a minute. Just take Lagna. If Lagna Lord and 7th Lord are together, what does it mean? Yeah, interaction with the world basically. You have excellent interactions with the world, right? Now the thing is here, the Lord of the 1st house and 7th house from the 4th house, counting from the 4th house are together, which means there are a lot of interactions relating to the house. In other words, I may have a really nice house, I may be very happy in that house, but nobody else may basically even look at the house or think of anything at the house. Whereas, if there is a really beautiful palace, if every walker by will look at it and say, oh my God, what a house, like that. You see what I am saying? So, basically, 7th house is what you are projecting to the rest of the world. That is why, for Jaimini, whenever he mentions various Arudhas, he says Arudha of the Lagna or the Arudha of the 7th house. Always is basically Lagna or the 7th house. Both of them, either of them can be taken as Lagna. In Jaimini's view, when you are looking at any matter, either the 1st house or the 7th therefrom can be taken as the reference in judging that particular house matters. Because the Lagna is what you are, and 7th house is how you are interacting with the world. And the world judges you based on how you are interacting with the world. So 7th house is basically the other Lagna. Lagna is the normal Lagna. The 7th house is the other Lagna, which is basically extrovert Lagna. The Lagna is the normal introvert Lagna, and the 7th house is the extrovert aspect of you. And if you see a lot of strong influences on the 7th house, and 7th house stronger than Lagna in a particular case, the person may be more extrovert than introvert. In any case, coming back to this example, we are not talking about a person, we are talking about a house. And if the 7th house, the 7th house should be judged from the 4th house to see the extrovert kind of aspects of the house. How
Should be big to make it more.
it should be big to make it more visible. 7th house is basically the visibility of the 7th house from 4th house is the visibility of the house. So the 10th house is important. Apart from this combination, if you see strong influences on the 10th house, you can basically, to some extent, you can say that all those planets have an influence on the house. When the dasha of a strong planet in the 10th house comes, there can be good house and happiness from the good house. But the combination given here is too specific. What it says is, if the 10th Lord and Lagna Lord are together, especially in a quadrant or trine, then the person is blessed with big houses. The next verse is verse 5. Bandhusthaneshware saumye shubhagrahayute ekshite shashije lagna samyukte bandhu pujyo bhavennarah. Okay. Bandhusthaneshwara. What is the bandhusthana? Bandhu means relative. What is bandhusthanam? The relative house of relatives. 4th house. 4th house is, for different relatives there are different houses. If you are talking about wife, 7th house, siblings, 3rd house, like that. Children, 5th house. So you have different houses for different relatives. But in general, overall your relatives are seen from the 4th house.
What was the relative or is it a friendship or friends?
It's not friends, it's relatives. Friends are from the 11th house.
Mitra.
Yeah. Bandhusthaneshware saumye shubhagrahayute ekshite. Now the tricky thing. If the Bandhusthaneshware saumya means, if the Lord of the 4th house is Saumya, he says Saumya. Saumya has two meanings. One is Mercury. Mercury is called Saumya because he is the son of Soma. The other meaning is, the other vyutpatti of the word Saumya is, it comes from the word Suma. Suma means flower. So Saumya means flower-like, basically tender, gentle. So we are talking about natural benefic planets like Jupiter, Venus, etc. So Saumya Graha can either mean Jupiter, Venus or Mercury, basically the natural benefics, or it can also specifically mean Mercury. Here Santanam's interpretation is Mercury. And it makes some sense because actually Shashije Lagna Samyukte. And in the next line, actually he is interpreting the same way I want. I thought he interpreted it a different way. So the next line says Shashije. Shashije Lagna Samyukte means, Shashija means, who is Shashi? What? Son of Shashi. Who is he? Moon's son. Who is Moon's son? Mercury, right? So Shashije means if Mercury, Lagna Samyukte means he is occupying Lagna, he is joined by Lagna. Bandhu Pujyo Bhaven Narah means that person is respected by the relatives. Okay, let us step back. So what is say? Earlier I said Saumya can be interpreted as either Mercury or natural benefic, right? Here the very next line says, and Mercury is in Lagna. He is specifically saying Mercury, not he. If he already defined Mercury in the previous line, he will not again use another word for Mercury. So obviously the previous Saumya is not Mercury. So the combination is, if the fourth lord is a benefic planet, and he is, when I say benefic planet, I mean natural benefic planet, and he is either conjoined or aspected by a functional benefic planet. Shubhagraha means functional benefic. Parashara clearly uses, in English when we say benefic, many times there is a confusion. Are we talking about natural benefics or functional benefics? But Parashara uses the word Saumya versus Krura for natural benefic versus natural malefic, and he uses the word Shubha versus Papa for functional benefic versus functional malefic. So that is the terminology Parashara uses almost consistently. So here we are talking about fourth lord being either Jupiter or Venus, or maybe Mercury if he is not afflicted, or maybe Moon if we are talking about the Shukla Paksha, right? So the fourth lord is a benefic, natural benefic, and he is either conjoined or aspected by functional benefics. In other words, he is basically a nice planet and he is under nice influences. Shashije Lagna Samyukte, and in addition, Mercury is in Lagna. Then the person is respected by relatives. Why are we giving importance to Mercury here? Mercury, trading and relative. Okay, he is adaptive, he is flexible. That's what you are trying to say by trading, right? He is a flexible planet. Not only that, he is the Karaka for Bandhus. If you are talking about relatives, the significant is Mercury. Okay, and as you saw earlier, when we were talking about the third house, your determination, your initiative, your bravery, all the combinations were talking about the third lord, Mars, etc. Right? Because Mars is the Karaka of the third house. Here, Mercury is the Karaka of the fourth house. If you are talking about the relatives aspect, if you are talking about happiness, Moon is the Karaka. If you are talking about vehicles, Venus is the Karaka. So there are different Karakas for different matters associated with the fourth house. If you are talking about learning, who is the Karaka? Fourth house shows learning. Who is the Karaka? Mercury. Right? If you are talking about mother, fourth house is also mother. Who is the Karaka? Moon. If you are talking about learning, Mercury. And if you are talking about vehicle, Venus. If you are talking about land property, Mars. If you are talking about a house that you live in, Ketu. Right. A house that you live in, the Karaka, Graha Karaka is Ketu. So Ketu. And if you are talking about general happiness, mental happiness, you are talking about Moon. And if you are talking about conjugal happiness, marital happiness, who is the Karaka? Venus. Okay. So like this, for each house there can be multiple Karakas. So you have to see, you have to basically, this combination given by Parashara is a clue to you. He is specifically talking about relatives here. But what if somebody has, let's say, he has fourth lord being a benefic and with functional benefics, etc. And Lagna doesn't have Mercury, but let's say Lagna has Venus. Or Lagna doesn't have Venus, but exalted Venus aspects Lagna, let us say. Then you can say the person will be happy with respect to vehicles. He will have beautiful vehicles and world will see him as somebody with beautiful vehicles. Something like that. So all the combinations given by Parashara, like he said earlier to Maitreya, he says Sankshepato. I am going to explain it briefly. You have to basically extrapolate whatever brief instructions he has given based on other learnings from other chapters, based on the other fundamentals. Okay. So this is basically one building he has constructed with the building blocks. Now this is not the only building. You can take those building blocks and construct more buildings out of them. The next combination is Matusthane Shubhajute Tadise Swacharashige Karake Bala Samyukte Matur Dirghayuradishet. Matusthane is the fourth house. Shubhajute means his aspect is occupied by Shubha, means functional benefic. If the fourth house is occupied by a functional benefic, Tadishe Swacharashige, and the lord of the house is in exaltation sign. Karake Bala Samyukte, and the Karaka, significator, he is Bala Samyukte means he is endowed with strength. He possesses strength. Matur Dirghayuradishet. In that case, you will say that mother will be long lived. Actually, previously Parashara talked about some combinations for mother and father specifically earlier also. Now he is giving one more combination. Previously meaning before we talked about the house results in a previous chapter. So, when he says Karaka, who's the Karaka here that he is talking about? Moon. So moon has to be strong. If moon is afflicted or weak, that is basically, that itself can cast some doubts on the longevity of mother, or at least happiness from mother. It's not a favorable thing as far as mother is concerned. So moon has to be strong, and the fourth lord has to be in exaltation sign, and fourth house has to be occupied by a functional benefit. So again, he is basically fortifying everything relating to the fourth house. And what are the three aspects of the fourth house he is fortifying? The fourth house, the fourth lord, and the Karka. For me?
Why does he say Swacha instead of Ucha?
Actually, if you see everywhere instead of Ucha, he uses the word Swacha only. It's just a usage. Instead of saying exaltation sign, he says his exaltation sign. If you just say exaltation sign, whose exaltation sign are you talking about? So there is that ambiguity. So in order to not be ambiguous, he always uses the term Swacha. It does not mean own sign or exaltation sign. It means his own exaltation sign. The next verse 7 is Sukhe se kendra bhavasthe tatha kendra sthite bhrugu. Sukhe se means if the fourth lord, kendra bhavasthe is in a quadrant, tatha kendra sthito bhrugu, and also in another quadrant, not necessarily another, also in a quadrant is situated bhrugu, means Venus. Shachije Socha Rashisthe, and Mercury is in exaltation sign, which means Virgo. Matuh Purnam Chukham Vadet. So fourth lord is in a quadrant, Venus is also in a quadrant, and Mercury is in exaltation sign. Then the happiness from mother is complete. The person will have a lot of happiness from mother. The next verse 8 is Sukhe Ravyute Mande Chandre Bhagyagate Sati Labhasthanagato Bhaumo Gomahishyadi Labhakrit. Sukhe Ravyute Mande. Sukhe Ravyute Mande Chandre Bhagyagate Sati. Okay. Sukhe Ravyute means if the fourth house has Ravi, means sun. Mande Chandre Bhagyagate Sati. Mande Chandre means if Saturn and Moon are in Bhagyagate Sati. Bhagyagate means ninth house. Bhagya means ninth house. 11th is Labha. Labhasthanagato Bhaumo, and Mars. Bhauma means Bhumi's sun, Mars. And Mars is in 11th house. Then Go Mahishyadi Labhakrit. Then what are the results? Go means cow, Mahishi means buffalo, Adi means etc. Labhakrut. Those kind of profits are brought by these planets. So Sun in the 4th house, Moon and Saturn in the 9th house, and Mars in the 11th house. This also basically gives happiness, but this is not land etc. This is animals. So cattle are also seen from the 4th house. Of course, when we say vehicle, in the old days vehicles were basically elephants and horses. So this basically obviously shows that aspect of animals, but not just animals that are used as carriage, but just animals that are used as a property. You may have a lot of cows and you may get lot of milk, ghee etc. from those cows, lot of butter you may make, and that is also seen from there. And who are the planets that are important for cattle? Of course, 4th house is your property. So Sun being in the 4th house is mentioned here. So Sun in general is the planet who shows various animals. So Sun being in the 4th house is important. And why Moon and Saturn in the 9th house? 9th house is your fortune. If Saturn is in 9th house, the fortune will be through Saturn. It will be Saturnine kind of fortune, Saturn kind of fortune. So it can be what kind of entities does Saturn show? Servants etc. Lowly. Saturn is a lowly planet. So Saturn shows lowly entities. So the fortune is through lowly entities. In other words, you may have a lot of servants, or maybe you have a lot of cows and buffaloes. Cows and buffaloes are kind of like lowly servants. They are like Saturn.
Saturn also is for hard work, so does it mean that the native will have to work hard to get
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Saturn shows hardworking entities in this universe. Cows and buffaloes and bulls etc. they are hardworking, just like hardworking servants. They are hardworking. But the thing is, as far as you are concerned, they are in your 9th house, fortune. So their hard work is your fortune. You make a fortune out of their hard work. On the other hand, if your 6th house was involved, then you say you yourself are serving, you yourself are working hard. Here 6th house and 8th house, which show your own hard work, are not involved.
Right.
The only houses involved are 4th house, showing your properties, the 9th house showing your fortune, what kind of fortune you enjoy, and of course 11th house showing the gains, what kind of gains you get. So basically the malefic planets are key planets here. Sun, Mars and Saturn, these are the key planets. If those key planets are showing lot of properties and profits, it may be relating to cattle and other animals.
Why the difference of Sun and Moon in this case? Saturn and Mars, okay, they are good.
Yeah.
But I was thinking from the point of view of how to remember all these combinations. So one way is easier to remember in case if we can make a correlation to who is who and what reasoning it is, then maybe it is easy to remember. For example, when 9th house came, now we are talking about Bhagya and his fortune, therefore these people in 9th house can give him fortune.
Right.
Like 11th house gains and so on. But why Sun in 4th house?
Like I said earlier, Sun shows, in general Sun shows all kinds of animals, all kinds of jivas. And if Sun is in the 4th house, there can be properties. 4th house is in general what you own, your properties. So it can show various animals as your properties. The next combination is Charageha Samayukte Sukhe Tadrashinayake. Charageha Samayukte means Chara means mobile, right? Charageha means mobile sign. Samayukte means containing a mobile sign. Sukhe means 4th house. In other words, 4th house is a mobile sign. Charageha Samayukte Sukhe Tadrashinayake. And also the Nayaka means leader of that sign. Leader means basically the Lord. So 4th house is a mobile sign and the Lord of the 4th house is also in a mobile sign. Okay. What are the mobile signs? What are the mobile signs? Yeah. Aries and quadrants from it. Aries, Cancer, Libra and Capricorn. These are the mobile signs. So 4th house is one of these signs. When will 4th house be one of these signs? If Lagna is also one of those signs. So basically Lagna is either Aries or Cancer or Libra or Capricorn. So Lagna is a mobile sign and Lagna Lord is also in one of these signs means, Fourth lord is also in one of these signs means fourth lord is also in a quadrant. So what we are saying essentially here is Lagna is either Aries, Cancer, Capricorn or Libra, and the fourth lord is also in one of these four signs. Okay. Basically fourth lord is in a quadrant. So Lagna is movable and fourth lord is in a quadrant. षष्ठे व्यये स्थिते भौमे नरः प्राप्नोति मूकताम्. Okay. षष्ठे व्यये स्थिते भौमे नरः प्राप्नोति मूकताम्. Mukata means muka means muka. No. Do you know a deity called Mukambika in Karnataka? Muka means dumb, unable to speak basically. The Telugu Vikriti of that word is Muga. Muka became Muka, the Sanskrit word became Muga in Telugu. So it's basically Muga, dumb, you can't speak. So the combination is if the fourth house is a mobile sign and if its lord is also in a mobile sign and Sukhe Tadras Nayake Sashthe Jayes Devome and the well actually his translation doesn't make sense to me. Santanam translates as should the fourth house be a mobile one while its lord and Mars are together in the sixth house or eighth house. Charagaya Samayukte Sukhe Tadras Nayake. Yeah, my interpretation is actually let me think. Charageha samayukte sukhe sadrashinayake. Actually this can be interpreted in multiple ways. One interpretation is Santanam's interpretation. The fourth house is a mobile sign and the fourth lord is with Mars either in the sixth house or eighth house. So that is one interpretation. The other interpretation is fourth house is in a mobile sign and also fourth lord is in a mobile sign and Mars is either in the sixth house or eighth house. So that is second interpretation. And the third interpretation is Charagayaha Samayukte Sukhe Tadrashinayake Shashthe Jaye Sthite Bhome. So the other interpretation is the fourth house is in a mobile sign, the lord of the fourth house is in sixth house and Mars is in the 12th house. Not Mars in the 6th house, but Mars is in the 12th house. This is the third interpretation. So, I am not sure what is the correct interpretation because it is not obvious at all. From the verse itself, it is not very obvious. All these are tenable. Except that, what I will say is if Mars is in the 6th house, giving a bad result based on it does not really make a lot of sense. Mars in the 6th house is a blessing. So, it could be Mars in, pardon me?
Good placement for Mars.
This is a good placement for Mars. And why is Mars important for speech? Of course, Mars is not the Karaka for speech. Mercury is the Karaka for speech. But Mars shows the fire. When you are speaking, there is some fire driving that speech. So there is, if Mars is very badly placed, there can actually be detrimental to having the ability to speak fluently. Fluent speech does require some Martian strength. So
This is applicable to any quality. Mars is the fire. It's fire like plant, so it is applicable to any.
Lot of things. You are absolutely right. Lot of things, but especially for communicating something orally, that fire within is very, very important. So, my interpretation, I mean, I am not fully sure, but I gave you all the three interpretations. My take on this is, the fourth house should be a mobile sign, and the lord of the fourth house should be badly placed in the sixth house, basically in a Dusthana, and Mars should be in the 12th house of last. Then basically there is problem with the speech. So that is my interpretation. Pardon me?
Fourth house is in mobile sign and fourth lord is in mobile sign.
The fourth lord is in sixth house.
Okay.
Fourth lord, instead of being in a mobile sign too, he is in the sixth house, and Mars is in the 12th house. Actually, wait a minute. Why did he say why this lord and Mars are together in the sixth or eighth house? Where did eighth house come from? It should be 12th. Anyway, so we are deviating from Santanam in two ways. One is instead of 8th we are saying 12th because Vaya is obviously 12th, and we are deviating from Islad and Mars being together. We are saying Islad in 6th and Mars in 12th. So those are the two deviations from Santanam. So that is my take. And the thing is, if you have a chart of a dumb person, please experiment. But my,
fourth lord is in 6th house, but Mars is not.
pardon me?
My fourth lord is in 6th house, but Mars is not in the 12th house.
And is your Lagna, is your
He's in
fourth house a
Lagna.
mobile sign? Okay.
This close.
Who's in Lagna?
Mars is in Lagna.
Okay. So that doesn't apply.
But why fourth house is for speech?
That's what I was hoping somebody will ask. Why are we looking at fourth house for speech? What is the house of speech? According to what Parasha taught earlier. Second house. So why are we even talking about the fourth house here? Okay, third house, second.
Second house, third house,
Yeah, good thinking, good thinking.
Initiativeness to
What is the, why is third house important?
Initiative.
initiative.
Initiative or drive.
Mm-hmm.
There is the drive for the speech.
Okay. Yeah, the third house and eighth house sustain anything basically. Those are the, third house is the house of vitality, not just initiative and drive. It's the house of vitality in anything, right? So third house is vitality and eighth house is longevity. So third and eighth are always important. So if the third house from any entity is afflicted, basically that particular entity may not have enough vitality in it. But the thing is, what if the second house is really strong? The second lord is, let's say, in a trine, and let's say Mercury is in a trine from him too. Mercury is the Karaka of speech, right? Mercury and the second lord are in mutual trines, and let's say Mercury is exalted and the second lord is also, let's say, exalted, and the second house, let's say, has Jupiter. Can you say that that person will be dumb? Definitely not. This is just one combination. You don't take it, do take it with a pinch of salt. Don't take it as something very, very final, because this is just one aspect. You will understand that this is one aspect if you try to understand the logic. When you ask why fourth house, why not second house? So then you understand, well, it's fourth house because that is the vitality of the second house, vitality of speech, how vital the person's speech is. So if the third house is afflicted, the vitality has something lacking. But what if the second house itself is strong? Let's say somebody's third lord is in the second house, let us say. Third lord is in second house afflicted by malefics. Is it good for longevity? No, right? Third lord is in the third lord. Third is important for vitality, and third lord is in 12th from it. Or let's say eighth lord is in 7th house. Third lord is in 12th or eighth lord in 7th. Or both. Then you say that longevity and the vitality, the overall health, they may not be that good. Right? They are marakas. Basically, they can even kill the person, right? But the thing is, what if other combinations are there? The Lagna is pretty strong. You may not hurriedly predict death in such a case, right? And moreover, in that case, you are talking about death in a particular dasha. When the planet's dasha comes, there can be death. Similarly, here, if this combination is present during the dasha of that particular planet, there can be some problems with the second house. There can be some problems with speech. So if the dasha is running at the beginning of life itself, the person may be a slow learner of speech. The person may not be able to speak for a long time, and there may be a lot of worry, and then later things may be fine. So always when you look at this combination like this, where a secondary factor is being taken, for speech, fourth house is not a primary factor, it is a secondary factor. Then realize that this is just a secondary factor, so don't ignore the primary factor. Okay, this is a modifier, this is not the actual determinant, this is a modifier. So actual determinant is second house. When we talked about second house, we talked about that. So give importance to that. Okay. Now let me ask you one more thing. Let us say the ninth lord, not the fourth lord, but let us say the ninth lord is badly placed. Let's say ninth house is a mobile sign containing Saturn, and ninth lord, let us say, is in the sixth house or is in a Dusthana. Let's say ninth lord is in the eighth house, and he is afflicted by malefics, and let's say Mars is in the 12th house. Can you still say that there may be some problem with the speech? Yes, because just like fourth house is the third from second, the ninth house is eighth from second. The ninth house is eighth from second, right? So, what is eighth house? While the third house is vitality, the eighth house is the longevity, and it's basically the vulnerability of the second house. So, if that house shows some weakness, again there can be some problems relating to speech. Okay. And the important thing is, if the house of vitality is in a mobile sign, mobile signs are unstable. They have too much energy in them. Mobile signs have a lot of energy, but it's not focused energy. It doesn't have focus. Whereas fixed signs are very, very focused, and dual signs are in between. So, when you are talking about the third house from any house, to see the vitality of that house, if you see that in a mobile sign, what it means is the vitality is very shaky. Yeah, shaky, very good word. We are talking about shakiness. We are not talking about some stable vitality. Whereas, if the third house from any house is in a fixed sign, then we are talking about some solidity. Okay? Okay. The next verse is, actually we will do one thing. We will stop here, we will pick up here. Where are we? We are on verse 10. So 15:10, remember that, chapter 15, verse 10. We will pick up from there in the next class, because in the last few classes we haven't really done practical examples. So chapter 15. Yeah, 15. Should be one? We did 14 last time. You weren't here. So that's why it's not in your notes. Okay. So thanks for the book. So what I want to do is, we haven't been doing a lot of examples in the last few classes. So I want to, if we take more time to finish the chapter, we'll basically run out of time for the examples. So let's do some examples. So you guys have any examples that you want to discuss? Any charts, interesting charts you have seen recently?
Actually, this is also related to the house moving.
Yeah?
I will do the background. It's my chart actually.
Okay.
The background is my wife is working for Fidelity, and they are all moving to North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
She is doing a choice to move to North Carolina
Okay.
or leave the company. That is the choice.
Okay.
That has to be decided by June 8th.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we don't want to get separated. And I want to see whether I am also likely to go there, or I want to stay here. I mean, is there any separation, or is it a good move for both of us as a family? All these questions.
So you want to see if you should move now?
Displacement, is it there? First of all, is it good, bad, or is it recommended to?
Okay. Do we have your chart?
Yes. I don't think.
Can you give the data?
Okay. September 1st.
September?
September 1st.
Yeah.
1955.
Yeah.
5:30 p.m.
Okay, the data is September 1, 1955, 5:30 p.m.
5:30 p.m. Machilipatnam.
Oh, same town as me. Machilipatnam. Okay. I'll save. Can I save the chart?
Yeah.
So that next time we'll have it. Can you guys see? Can you see it now? Okay. So his data is September 1, 1955, 5:30 p.m. 5 hours 30 minutes east of GMT. The place is Machilipatnam, India. 81 degrees 8 minutes east, 16 degrees 10 minutes north. Why are you laughing, Seshu? Why are you laughing?
Did we rectify the time last time?
So this is the chart that we used earlier. Okay, good. Okay. So the question is, his wife, she works for a company called Fidelity, which is in the Boston area, and they are basically relocating to North Carolina, and they gave her the option of either moving to North Carolina or basically leaving the company. and he wants to know based on his chart whether the time is good for moving, basically whether he should also move, whether the time is conducive to moving or whether he should just stay here and force his wife to quit the job and find something else. So that's what he is looking for. Let us see. Let us help him. First, are you curious to see how the time is for his wife before you see how the time is for him, and from the point of view of house and residence? Why don't we just look at how things are for wife from his chart?
You asked about whether the chart is rectified.
He said it's rectified.
Because it's 5 minutes earlier it will change.
No, this is correct.
He said it's correct. He said we worked on this chart earlier, so I'm going to take this for granted. Because earlier we rectified this chart. We covered his chart some another time. So you are playing with Sudarshan Chakradasha?
Yeah.
Okay. When you give me your computer, I will know what you are playing with. Okay, what is the dasha we use for you? I think nothing special. No conditional dasha is applicable, I think. So you are a Vimshottari dasha person. So we'll use Vimshottari dasha for him. He is running the Vimshottari dasha of Saturn. He is actually at the end of Saturn dasha. He started Saturn Jupiter Antardasha. Okay? In January. Okay. How do you see wife in Navamsa?
L7.
L7. And how do you get L7? Okay. So L7 is in Aquarius. Okay. So how is the dasha right now for spouse? Pardon me?
It's like a marka in Lagna, right? Jupiter becomes a marka.
Okay, Jupiter is a marka.
It's like
Look, we are looking at career, whether the time is good for career, is it a destabilizing time in career. Then suddenly you are talking about marka. Let me finish. When we are talking about the career, you can also look at second house as house of money. And you can say second lord is in Lagna, so good money. You can say that also. And now, talking about marka, of course, now that you brought up the point, let me say one thing. The dasha is after all Shani dasha. So, Antardasha, if it is a marka planet's Antardasha, it doesn't necessarily have to kill. Right? And dasha is Saturn. Who is Saturn? Lagna Lord in third house. Can he kill? Absolutely not. He cannot kill at all. He is a Lagna Lord can never kill. He is basically the guy who is in charge of your body. So he will not desert you.
So 6th Lord in 10th house, that means some service.
Sixth Lord is in the 10th house. So moon, right. So it's a service chart.
my mind is that marka, because recently last 2 days I was compiling chapters about marka, which had a lot of
It's only influence. So actually,
Yeah.
The 6th house has got L4.
See, I actually have an advice. That is why whenever you study some bad topic like marakas, death, being lunatic, all these combinations, being a murderer, all these kind of things, when you sins, etc. When you study these things, after that, come out of that. Read some nice spiritualist chart, do something nice so that you come out of it, because your thoughts are actually influenced by what you are doing. The kinds of thoughts that you see, they influence you. For example, suppose you are writing a paper on suicidal people, and you study the charts of 5 or 6 suicidal people and study their simsamsas, then obviously some negative energy is produced within you. You may or may not be able to realize it, but obviously that happens. So lift yourself. Avoiding them is one solution. The other solution is, yeah, just do something nice after that. That will cheer you up.
So it shows gain.
Yes, he is the 2nd and 11th Lord. Yeah, Bhoga will come to that. But Jupiter, the Antardasha Lord right now, which started recently, is the second Lord and 11th Lord, taking L7 as Lagna. Second house is wealth, 11th house is gains. So he is in Lagna. That is good actually. Financially, it's a good dasha. It doesn't really show any kind of destabilization or instability in career. Basically, suddenly quitting the job and not being able to find a job and struggling because of it. We don't really detect that. Now, where is the bhoga? That is you brought up a very good point. Always we look at the bhoga, right? From the dasha lord Saturn, the antardasha lord Jupiter is in 11th house. If you count 1, 2, 3, this is 11, 12, 11. And if you count 11 from Jupiter, the same count from the antardasha lord, it is 12, 11. So, Sagittarius. What house is it? It is in the 11th house of gains. So what is basically bhoga is what you actually experience on the ground. So what is experienced? Gains. So is it a bad dasha materially, financially? Probably not. Okay. And how about the next dasha?
House is very strong.
Pardon me?
From L7, the 7th house is strong, right?
Yes.
So, interaction.
Yeah, but we are deviating. None of the dashas are running. Let's just focus on the dashas. What is the next dasha? If they make a move now, within 2 years, Mercury dasha will come. How is Mercury for spouse? I mean for career.
Mercury is fifth lord. He is fifth and eighth lord in the second house.
Is he a benefic or malefic? Is he a functional benefic or functional malefic? Why?
Because he is with conflict.
No, functional. Naturally he is a malefic. Perfect. In this Navamsa he is a natural malefic. But functionally is he a benefic or malefic? Tell me why? Why?
Fifth and eighth.
He is a benefic, right. 8th house is a neutral house. 3, 6, 7, these are the malefic houses. 2, 8, these are neutral houses. So go back to the previous class and remember. So the 8th house is a neutral house and 5th house is a benefic house. So combination is he is a benefic. So he is a functional benefic. And he is the 5th lord joining Lagna lord. What does that show? This is a yoga. Lagna lord and 5th lord together is a Raj Yoga. So it shows, and moreover they are friends. Mercury and Rahu are good friends. So it's a Raj Yoga between two good friends in the house of money. But at the same time he is in the second house, one of the Artha Trikonas. See, for career 2, 6 and 12 are important, we said earlier. So he is in the second house and he is Karaka for career. So in service he is basically the Karaka. Moreover, he is the dispositor of the 10th lord. Actually, dispositor of the 10th lords. Both 10th lords, Mars and Ketu, are in Mercury signs. So Mercury is a key planet. He is debilitated. So it's not excellent, but that's one of the negatives. Other negative is he is the 8th lord also. 8th lord afflicting Lagna lord. Is it good? Still 8th lord afflicting Lagna lord. That's a Duryoga. So there are two different things here. There is some kind of fall, some kind of lowering in position, but at the same time there is success also. Which one comes when? You have to see from the Antardashas, etc. But Mercury Dasha overall is a good Dasha, but there will be some setbacks within that Dasha, relating to perhaps health. If 8th lord is afflicting Lagna lord, we are not talking about career here, we are talking about health. Moreover, 8th lord in the second house. There can be actually called a Marka also. Like he said Jupiter was Marka, actually Mercury is a bigger Marka here. So, those 17 years from 2009 to 2026, there can be some health problems. But as far as career is concerned, he should be fine. He is the 5th lord, he is the dispositor of the 10th lord, and he is in a Raj Yoga. So career should be fine. So we are not really concerned. We are not concerned that her career will now go down because of this current instability or current decision to be made. Okay. So we are happy as far as she is concerned. Whether she moves or not, we can't tell from this Navamsa. We'll see that more from his Chaturthamsa. We can't tell that, but we can tell that her career will be fine. Okay. Let's see what is the chance of his moving. That is one aspect that we want to cover, and the other aspect is how is his own career. For example, if he wants to move, he has to find a job, and will that result in some discontinuity and some instability in the career, or will the career take off right away smoothly? So let us look at the Chaturthamsa and Dashamsa to shed light on his own fortune. How is Chaturthamsa? The Dasha running right now is like we said. What is it? Saturn, Jupiter. Sorry, not Dasha. Antardasha running right now. How is Jupiter? How is Jupiter Antardasha? Is he a functional benefic or functional malefic in this chart from Lagna? Second and 11th lord. Second is neutral, 11th is malefic. So he is a functional malefic. Actually, it will be good if you guys just get by heart for which Lagna, which planets are benefics and malefics. So for Aquarius Lagna, Jupiter is a malefic. And he is in Manakaraka Sthana. Moreover, he is in the third house. In D4, fourth house is the key house. It shows your house. Third is the 12th from there, the loss of that, the instability with respect to that. So it can actually, planet in the third house can show a displacement, show a change of place. Moreover, how is the Bhoga from Saturn, from Dasha Lord Saturn? If you count Antardasha Lord Jupiter, he is in 12, 11, 10, 10th house. So if you count 10th house from him, 12, 11, 10, it is in Capricorn, 12th house. So the Bhoga, the Bhoga of this Antardasha is in the 12th house. What does 12th house show? Does it show being happy where you are, or does it show moving to a faraway place? Moving to a faraway place. So, is there a good chance, based on the Chaturthamsa, will you say that there is a good chance that he will move? There is a pretty good chance that he will move. But after he moves, will things be fine? The last Antardasha, pardon me?
Jupiter also aspects A4.
Yeah? A4?
Aspect on A4.
Okay, let's get rid of these L's and go to A's. Instead of Graha Arudhas, let's go to Bhava Arudhas. A4 is basically the house, the tangible house. How is A4? A4 is in Leo, and from there Jupiter is in the 9th house. Of course, he is in Badhaka Sthana from it. He is the 8th lord in the 9th house. He shows instability with respect to house. See, from A4, Jupiter owns the 8th house. 8th house is the house of instability. So he owns the 8th house and he occupies Badhaka Sthana. So again, selling the house or moving the house or having some problems with the house, all these are possibilities. So even if he doesn't move to North Carolina, there will be some problems will come up with the house that he is living in right now. So that is a very strong likelihood based on the Chaturthamsa. So it's actually not a bad idea, and he will be fine. Jupiter seems to be fine. He shows change, but he doesn't seem to show any unhappiness. Moreover, this is a transitory Antardasha. The next Antardasha is more important, Mercury. It's a long Antardasha, the next Dasha. The next Mahadasha of Mercury is 17 years long, from 2009. How is that? Mercury for Aquarius Lagna is a functional benefit, and he is in the 8th house. Even though 8th house is a bad house, 8th lord in the 8th house is what yoga? Not Vimala. Sarala yoga. Vimala is 12th lord in 12. Aksha yoga is 6th in 6. Sarala is 8th in 8. Vimala is 12th lord in 12th house. So there is Sarala yoga here, and he is exalted. So being an exalted planet in one's higher house, basically he shows a very happy state of mind with respect to the house. Moreover, look from A4, the Arudha of the 4th house. How is Mercury? It's in the 2nd house, exalted. Is it good or bad? From any Arudha, Mercury in the 2nd house gives Raj Yoga with respect to that Arudha, especially exalted.
What is the Raj Yoga called?
It's not called anything. Parasara only says if Mercury is in the second house from Aruh Lagna, the person will be a king. That's what Parasara says. Here we are not talking about a person, we are talking about A4. That combination was for Arudha Lagna, the Arudha of the first house. Here we are talking about Arudha of the fourth house. So basically that house is like a king. In other words, he will have a good house and he will be happy in the house. He will have a big house. Similarly, Saturn in the 12th from Arudha, any Arudha is also good for that Arudha. For Saturn, if Saturn was in the second house, it would have been bad. For him, 12th is better. So, it is a good idea for him to move. He can move, and he will be happy in that house.
A lot of like for example, Mercury even owns A8 and A9, A3.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are mixed other.
Yeah. There are mixed influences, but the thing is, let's just make the final judgment. As far as the key thing is A4. What does A9 show? What does A8 show? You can go in detail into each of them, but the key thing is A4. And as far as A4 is concerned, he is well placed. And as far as Arudha Lagna itself is concerned, because that is his image as far as property and house, residence, etc. are concerned. From Arudha Lagna, Mercury is in 11th house. Okay? Whereas look at Jupiter. How is Jupiter? The current Antardasha Lord. He is a benefic, natural benefic in the 6th house. What does natural benefic in the 6th house do? He makes you a loser. I mean, if you go to a battle, you basically lose. You are seen as a loser. If 6th house from Arudha Lagna has a benefic, natural benefic, the person is seen as somebody who is losing something. So, his Antardasha is running right now. So during this dasha, if he makes a move, several people may think that, he lost something. It may be seen as a loss. But the thing is, when it's Mercury's turn, Mercury is extremely well placed from Arudha Lagna. He is in 11th house in exaltation sign. So this will be a good move. There may be a couple of years of relative instability, but after that, the next 17 years will be good. So this is a good move for him to make. So our advice will be, he can consider going to North Carolina instead of asking his wife to quit. He can take advantage of the opportunity to settle down in North Carolina instead of Boston. Not that we don't want you in the class. But the thing is, how is his career looking up? How is his career? Look at D10, Dashamsha. What is the Dasha running right now? Of course, Shani, Jupiter. How are these planets for his career? Jupiter is in 9th house. Okay. What does that mean?
Protection is there.
Okay.
And Saturn is like
Okay, Saturn is Ragna Lord, he is in the 4th house. He is not a great planet, but he is an okay planet. He doesn't really show any big Rajoga or something in the career, but he is okay. Saturn is okay, right? How is Saturn Jupiter? What is the Bhoga in Saturn Jupiter Antardasha? Second house. And the 11th from Arudha Lagna. So financially it is a good Antardasha. But from Lagna itself, Jupiter is in Badhasthana. Again, planets associating with the 8th house, Badhasthana, they can show disturbances, they can show changes. So there is a chance of change of job during the Jupiter Antardasha, right? Change of job is a possibility, but it's not likely to be bad. Financial position basically will not be adversely impacted by it. Financial position should be fine.
So
And from Lagna, 9th house.
Okay.
If Lagna is a fixed sign, the 9th house is Badhasthana. If Lagna is a mobile sign, 11th house is Badhasthana. If Lagna is a dual sign, 7th house is a Badhasthana. So he is in Badhasthana. So because Jupiter is in Badhasthana, he can give a change of job.
And from Arudha Lagna?
Yes, and from Arudha Lagna, how is Jupiter? He is a benefic in the 6th house. So, is it likely that he will get a big raise and he will get a really better job than he is getting here? What kind of job is likely with Jupiter? So he is giving Ketu's results now. Good point. He is giving Ketu's results. And how is Ketu? Ketu is the 10th lord. And he is a malefic in the 6th from Arudha Lagna. So what do you expect? Should he get a good offer?
Malefic in 6th is good.
Yes. And moreover, he is the 10th lord in 9th house. Is 10th lord in a trine good for career? Yeah. We haven't come to the 10th house chapter in BPHS until now, but obviously
we talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about it several times. So 10th lord being in a trine is a blessing. So basically Jupiter and Ketu combination, the blessings of that combination are there as far as career is concerned. So this is a good, the next 2 years there is nothing to be concerned about. He will easily get a good offer and he will be able to move. But the thing is, how is the next period? Because he is on the verge of a big, he's been running Jupiter Saturn Dasha since 1990. Basically 17 years. And in another couple of years, it's going to all change. So usually Dasha changes trigger big events in life. There can be big changes in ending of one phase and starting of another phase. So how is the next phase? How is Mercury?
Actually, is the 5th lord and 6th house of service.
Yeah? He is the 5th and 8th lord.
Right.
And he is in the 6th house. Is he a good planet or a bad planet?
It's good because it's 5th lord and it's again 8th lord in 6th house, so that
He is good because what?
first thing is a 5th lord.
Yeah? Yeah?
Second thing is the 8th lord in 6th house. Right?
8th lord in 6th house. What yoga is it?
Viparita Raja.
Sharam. Okay. Okay, 8th lord in 6th house is Viparita Raja. 5th lord in 6th house, is that a yoga too? Is it a good yoga or bad yoga?
That's called Jhimanta Yoga.
Yeah, Dhimanta yoga. And 6th house is the house of working hard, right? And 5th house is the house of your abilities. So if the 5th lord is in the 6th house, you are using your abilities. The resources available to Mercury being the 5th lord are the abilities of his abilities in his career. Those are Mercury's resources. And he will put them to use in the 6th house matters. What are 6th house matters? Serving, overcoming problems, jumping over the obstacles, fixing problems, etc. So, he will use the abilities to overcome the obstacles well. So, it will not be a cakewalk, but he will use his intelligence nicely to fix the problems. So, he will be working hard and he will be very productive. So, that is the result of Dhimanta Yoga in Dashamsha. So he will be very productive in that dasha. So it's a good dasha from that point of view. And also Mercury is associated with A7 and A3. A7 and A3 can show enterprise. They can show, A3 can show your ventures, right? A7 can show your partnership. So is there a chance that he will be involved in some partnerships or starting a company or something like that? Is it possible? Well,
but generally 7th house is not so strong. So
7th house is not strong, 6th house is strong, and moreover Mercury is in the 6th house. So it's not a likelihood.
maybe contract or self-contract.
Possible. A3 and A7 can show contract kind of work in Mercury Dasha. They can show travel. They can show work that requires lot of interaction with people, lot of communication with people. Rather than just sit in your cube and do, you are always talking to people, always dealing with people. That kind of work is shown. But we don't really see a possibility of having his own venture. Okay. And finally, I looked at the Dasamsa deities, and Mercury basically is in Ishanamsa, and also he is the 8th lord. 8th house is the house of occult activities, etc. And he is in Ishanamsa, and from Arudha Lagna, he is in the 3rd house. A benefic planet, of course Mercury is a natural benefic here because there is no planet afflicting him. So a natural benefic in 3rd or 6th from Arudha will give a saint-like image. Either the image of a loser or the image of a saint, not somebody who is pushing hard and aggressively pushing and then getting what he wants. So it can either mean in the workplace not being able to get what he wants. That is one possibility. The other possibility is doing some nice voluntary work or building a saintly image. Dasyamsha is not just your formal career, it's all the work that you do in the society. So, moreover, Mirti is in Ishanamsha. Ishana is, like we discussed earlier, religious work. So, doing some kind of religious voluntary work with a local temple or some religious organization, that can be basically beneficial during that particular period. It can basically avert, otherwise if it, either this or something else. If you don't do this, the other will be more predominant, which is losing some things at the workplace. So if he does more of this, the other one can be averted. So that is the idea. So some charity work or some religious work, etc. Doesn't seem like there are any instabilities or flags basically. When we saw some other examples in the past, there were some red flags raised and then we couldn't confidently advise. But here, no real red flags are being raised with respect to the future. But how is the current Tithi Pravesha chart? Let's see, just 2 years basically. We looked at long term. Now let's look at the short term. So let's see the annual Tithi Pravesha chart of the current year. And this year started on September 7, 2006. 7:18 a.m. Indian Standard Time, Machilipatnam. Who is the ruler of the year? Mars. God. Okay, so Mars is the ruler of the year, right? The Hora Lord is shown as Mars. So Mars is the king of this year. And why did I say, oh God? What 12th house? Yeah, I'm not looking at Dasyamsha. I'm just first look at Rashi. That's the basic personality. Third Lord and third Lord. And he is sitting in Lagna. Maybe you should. combination, is it fully satisfied? Moreover, actually, let me live in a big palace. A9 and A8. What does A9 show? A9 shows a fortune, a tangible article reflecting on his fortune.
What is with Ketu, right?
We will come to that. Now, he is being eclipsed by Ketu, but he is the fifth lord. Fortunately, it's a Rajoga with a really bad enemy in Bhadrasthana. So it's a very strange kind of situation. So our reading can be that during this time there is a chance of finding a good new beginning, because fifth house Lagna and fifth house can always give a new beginning, and the lords are together. But the thing is, because this is with Ketu, there is something undesirable about it. There is some negative angle. We can't really guess exactly what it is, but there is some negative angle to it. It may also be not with complete happiness. It may not be that there is something undesirable with the job, but basically moon is mind. So the mental attitude relating to this job, regarding this job, it may be a little negative. But basically before June 1st, even though you said that the moon will come in August also, the time in my judgment, April 13 to June 1 is a very favorable time in career for finding a new beginning. Moreover, A9 is with A8. A9 is that which makes people think how fortunate you are, how lucky you are. It's basically a tangible manifestation of your luck, your bhagya. And it's with A8. And what is A8? Mrichupada. It is basically something sudden. So, because A9 is with A8, and of course you can interpret negatively also. You can take A8 as Mrichupada, and you can say fortune is destroyed. But the thing is, the fact is, the two planets there are Lagna Lord and Fifth Lord. So we want to emphasize on the positive because of that. So they will bring out the positive of the Arudhas that they are associating with. So let's take A9 and say that A8 influences A9. So it will be something sudden. So you may be planning, but out of a blue moon suddenly something may come up. But still, when I say, because I say it's going to be sudden, don't stop sending your resume. Send your resume. Start looking for a job there, and then my guess is suddenly something nice will pop up. Yeah. And how is the next dasa of Mars? Well, he is Yokarka, and then Mercury, he is the second, third and 12th lord in the 10th house. We don't really see any dasha that shows concern, so it should be fine. How is the next year?
We have a concern that we are going to meet somebody here.
That's a different thing. I'm talking about astrologically, just as a client who came to you to see the chart. Yeah, we'll really miss him, and he will miss us too. Yeah. So how is next year? Pardon me?
I was telling Vijay yesterday that I'll miss all these classes and
you can. There are so many people who are listening to the audio. You can just be one of them.
But listening to you,
Yeah.
this person is different from this audio.
Yeah, there is obviously a difference. But the thing is, there are so many people who don't have any other alternative. So many people keep sending mails. So it's not bad actually. Of course, this is better, but that's not bad. Okay, how is next year? A quick judgment. Any concern? The 10th lord of Rasi chart, Saturn, is in second house, an Artha Trikona. He is in a mercurial sign, a friendly sign. And the 10th lord, Venus, he is with Lagna Lord Sun. And Sun, the Lagna Lord, is in the fourth house, Arul Lagna. So, if Venus and Sun are in Arul Lagna, what kind of image is possible during that year? Pardon me? A royal image. So basically, some kind of administrative or managerial kind of responsibilities are possible. So being in some kind of leadership position is possible during the next year in career. And how is the fifth house? Because fifth house is finally the recognition of your abilities.
A5, right?
Yeah, A5, and let's look at both fifth house and A5. If you look at A5, A5 contains Saturn, who is the ruler of the year, and also 10th lord of the Rasi chart. And its Lord Mercury, he is basically aspecting it. He is in Katika Lagna, he is aspecting it, and Jupiter has Arkana on it. There are various, it's not great, but there are some good influences. Moreover, Jupiter is in 5th house in own sign. The Lord of any sign being in the same sign, especially Mula Trikona, is very auspicious. So Jupiter and Ketu being in the 5th house. Ketu is 4th lord. The 4th and 5th lord being together in the 5th house, it's a Raj Yoga. So Jupiter Dasha will be brilliant during this year. When is Jupiter Dasha? Yeah, the end of this year will be excellent in the career. He would have joined the new job just a few months back, so it will be a new job. But the thing is, still he will manage to impress people there. So the end of this year stands out as a good time. But overall, the next 1.5 years seem very fine. So there is nothing to be concerned about. Of course, when you are leaving a place that you are used to, and when you are establishing yourself in a new place, there will be so many practical problems, so many tensions, and that fear of the unknown is always there at the back of your mind. So that will be there. But my guess is that will continue to be there only till your birthday or so. After that, by that time, things will basically fall in place. So,
should there be any concern about the Venus motion here?
for me,
Venus combustion, or you don't?
yeah, there is a concern. It's not a very favorable thing. But the thing is, forget Venus. Sun is really strong. Sun is the 5th lord of the natal Rasi chart, showing his recognition, and he is the Lagna lord in the Samsa. So he is very strong. So Sun should really give him some position of authority during the year.
And Sun Venus combination, even managerial.
It can be either managerial or administrative or some kind of leadership role. That is very likely during the year. So good luck.
And one question.
Yes.
If the Venus, if it is retrograde and combustion, what should it?
It's not, neither retrogression nor combustion is good for the 10th lord. So it's not a good combination. So for example, when Venus Dasha comes, Venus is combusted by Sun, right? And they may not really exchange their results. So when Venus gives his results in January 15 to March 29 next year, the results may not be that great. What does retrogression of any planet show? It shows some desire, some strong desire. So the planet basically wants to fulfill certain agendas, but it may not be able to fulfill those agendas. So there may be some kind of desperation. And he is combust. So what does combustion mean? Yeah. So basically he may be sidelined a little bit. His managers or some politics may sideline him a little bit. Just during that period, during the January 15 to March 29 period. But immediately after that, when Sandasha comes, it will be excellent. Sandasha will give him very good position. So this Jupiter Dasha from September 26 to December 2 and Sun Dasha from March 29 to April 19, they really stand out as excellent Dashas during the next year. So my judgment is things will be fine for him.
If you want to pray, you have to pray.
During the next year, there can be some, see, the 8th lord is in the 7th house and Venus is in the 8th house in the Navamsha, and Lagna is afflicted by Sun and Ketu. So his career will be fine, but as far as marital life is concerned, there may be some quarrel, some disturbance basically, some disharmony is possible during the next year. It may be because of,
His anger.
no, his anger is only this year. Don't suddenly make me an angry person. Just this year, it's not even anger, it's basically some irritability. He may be irritable.
Just kidding.
We may not be able to imagine him as an irritable person, but you never know. People who look like great sadhus, when they are alone with their wife, they can be really he is laughing. So now he's come home. But the thing is, if you are feeling that during this year, especially during June time frame, when the Master comes, if you are feeling that if you get a feeling that you are feeling a lot of stress, if you are being stressed a lot, then the problem is Mars. So just pray to Nrsimha.
I think we should suggest him to appreciate the Palan Devata.
We should do that. That's a good idea. But specifically, as far as anger is concerned, just pray to Nrsimha. Not me. Don't think of me. Nrsimha, the Lord Nrsimha. Think of him. Because it is Mars in a mercurial sign. So it's a Vishnu Avatara corresponding to Mars. So more than Hanuman or Subramanya, I will suggest Nrsimha. And what he said is right. Because you are going to go through some changes in your life, in your livelihood. Where you live, how you live, what you do for living. All these things may change over the next year or so. So, worshipping your Palan Devata is a good idea, like Seshu said. Who is your Palan Devata? Do you know? Your Amatyakarka, AMK, Amatyakarka is Shani, Saturn. And where is he in Navamsha? He is in Aries. Take the 6th from there, 6th house from Saturn. Amatyakarka, it is Ketu. Ketu. So, Ketu in Virgo. Okay, so let's not take the Lord, let us take the planet itself because it's occupied by a planet. So Ketu will show Ganesha. So, and also this is a mercurial sign. Mercurial signs are Atti. So this is an Atti sign. So we are talking about Ganesha in Muladhara Chakra. So Ganesha is perfect. Ganesha is perfectly ideal. So pray to Ganesha. And as a matter of fact, a few days back I gave you Homakundam. Do some Mahaganapati Homam. I'll show you like you asked. So, if you can do a few Mahaganapati Homams and do some Ganapati Mantra every day, for example, read Apharisam every day, it will be very, very, very beneficial for you. So, some Ganapati Sadhana during the next 7 months, you can basically control your anger and also make all the changes relatively smooth. Change is never smooth, but it will make it relatively smooth. Okay? So, with that I will end. Any other thoughts anybody has? Any suggestions?
You also want to give him the Jyothishya corresponding to
The career? Yes, sir. Why not? See, he's in such a charitable mood today, Seshu. Go ahead.
Fifth, right? Fifth of Mercury.
Yeah, 5th in Dashamsa. Who is he? Who is the 5th Lord in Dashamsa? Mercury. No. Who is Mercury? Which Devata corresponds to Mercury? Clue. It's a Jyotirlinga in his home state. Yes. Mallikarjuna. Om Namah Shivaya Namo Mallikarjunaya. If you do that mantra or visit Srisailam, it is very beneficial. Of course you can't, you just went to India, so you can't visit. But you can have a picture of Srisailam, the lingam in Srisailam, if you find it somewhere on the internet. Put it in your puja room and do this mantra. Om Namah Shivaya Namo Mallikarjunaya. It will be very beneficial for your career. Yeah, good idea. No, nothing to laugh. It's a good idea. He is really creative today. Pardon me? He is creative today. Sometimes he asks really something, he says something really silly. Sometimes he says something really profound. It's a very good point. Okay. So with that we will end the class today. Tomorrow, next Monday we will continue BPHS, and if you have any other examples, bring them. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So today we didn't